there, everyone? Danny Greco here, and I know recently there's been a lot of talk about foreclosure increases and delinquency increases, and a lot of people on the sidelines, or at least on Reddit, and we'll get to that in a second, kind of wishing this into existence. And it's just got me thinking, where is all this encouragement coming from? What data are these people saying that I'm not seeing or I'm aware of or anything like that? And I know there was a recent Adam publication that referenced foreclosure filings were up 700% year over year. And that's certainly significant. Now, this is national, of course. This isn't just specific to the greater Seattle market. But you have to keep in mind, foreclosures and filings have been really oppressed for the past number of years because of the moratorium that has existed since the COVID shutdown. So banks were essentially not allowed to pursue any foreclosures for the last number of years. So it makes no sense that at some point, once these moratoriums expired, that there would be an increase in these filings that take place. And it's of no surprise that year over year, when these start happening, they're probably going to look on paper to be pretty significant. But I always am, when we go down these rabbit holes in Reddit, that's my fault for even doing that. I'm always just puzzled as to where this optimism from these posters comes from, that this is the beginning of the end for the real estate market and we're going to have a hard time ahead of us. Because who's a distressed seller these days? Where are these foreclosures going to come from? Going back to 2008, we had a huge problem because anybody who could fog a mirror was given a loan for whatever they wanted, whatever payment they wanted. And you'd have people with numerous amounts of homes that they paid nothing for, and as soon as they lost their job, all of that went out the window, and we had this massive increase in supply, which at a time when lending standards then adjusted from what they were, made it really difficult for many people to buy. So we have this massive amount of supply and very few people who could buy. Today we have just the opposite. We've so underbuilt over the last decade that we have this extreme shortage of supply, and everyone who's bought a home over the past 10 or 15 years has been more qualified to purchase that home than they've ever been before. And that's even if they use financing. So that's not including all the cash buyers out there who of course don't have a mortgage on any home. And so they're no threat of any mortgage default from that perspective. Furthermore, not only is anyone who owns a home more qualified than they've been ever before, they're likely sitting on interest rates that are under 4%, 3% and below in some cases. Also, what has equity done over the past 5-10 years or so? It's just gone like this, okay? I remember there was a statistic about a year and a half ago that said in King County, 54% of homeowners had 50% or more in equity. Now that was about a year and a half ago, okay? So that number is probably above 60% now. So I don't understand what event these people are thinking of that is going to bring about this distressed inventory, okay? If you're a seller, if you're an owner of a property, I should say, and you're falling on hard times, or owner of multiple properties, what is going to compel you to sell at all costs or foreclose when you have tons of equity in the home, an interest rate, if you have a mortgage at all, that's super low? Could you not just rent that home out and make cash flow, or even at worst break even, rather than just throw the keys in and kill your credit for the next 7 years with a foreclosure? I'm just really puzzled where these people are getting their hope from. So anyway, maybe some of you have hope out there and can better explain to me. I'm not sure. I do know that, with what we're looking at today, this isn't saying that years down the line something worse could not happen. I get that. But again, this is why the Seattle market is so strong in this regard, because we are so limited in the available amount of housing that we can have. We've got mountains to our east and water to our west. All the land that's north and south is highly regulated and overzoned on what can be built. So we know nationally we're about a decade behind in terms of building for the amount of buyers that we have. The greater Seattle area is probably even more so because of all the regulations that exist for builders to build. So we just can't put up inventory at the pace that people are wanting to buy it at. And when you look at all the people who are moving here, I mean, we're expected to have another 150,000 people here in the next 10 years, 225 in the next 15. And who are these people that are coming to this region? This isn't Detroit in the 1950s where you're just throwing warm bodies onto an assembly line to do manual labor. I mean, these are people coming in for tech, healthcare, biotech, I mean, numerous different industries. They're all very well educated. They're demanding competitive wages. And these are people who can, frankly, keep up with the rate of inflation that the housing market is seeing. So again, who's the profile of the seller that's going to be distressed, that even if they come into an unfortunate situation where they're going to have to sell their home, or they fell on some extremely hard times, do they not have equity? Do they not have the ability to rent out the home? And furthermore, if all those things fail and they do have to go through the foreclosure route, how long is that going to take? These banks do not want to, they're doing everything that they can to not repeat the 2008 cycle. So they want to work with the homeowner as much as possible. And even if they can't, we know this stuff takes years before a foreclosed home finally ends up on the market. So even if this stuff were to happen, we're not going to see this flood hit the market. If anything, it'll be just a sprinkling of activity, just a dusting of a foreclosure here or there. And if you have one foreclosure out of every 100 or a couple hundred sales, is that really even being sold at a discount? Is it any different of a house just because it's a foreclosure? Not really, if you still have a shortage of inventory and an oversupply of buyers. So I don't know, maybe you guys can point me in the right direction where some of this fear can be justified, but I'm not seeing it.